Hi everyone. Wow, what a stage. So today I'm going to talk to you about the age of digital disruptors. I'll explain what I mean by that, but before this, a couple of words about myself. I'm Vera Ivashchenko. I work with digital native businesses from our European headquarters in Dublin at Facebook. So by digital native businesses, we understand all the companies that create digital product and services that are globally scalable and globally available. I'm with Facebook for a little bit less than 4 years. Now, prior to that, I was working for Google, also in Dublin. So I know a thing or two about growing digital native businesses on both platforms and generally. And on behalf of Facebook, thank you for being here. It's a pleasure to speak to you here in Georgia and Tbilisi. It's the first time, I believe, when Facebook is presenting. So thank you very much for the invitation to all the organizers, and I hope you enjoy the talk. Let me quickly pause on what I mean by digital disruptive businesses. And this is a vertical in industry that we identify within Facebook. And we actually know exactly what type of companies those are and what they do. And pretty much it says on the screen right now. So disruptive companies continue to give people what they don't know they want in ways they always wanted it. And this brings me to the ways to understanding like how do we know what people don't know they want? What is this about? Like, do we how is this possible? And we do multiple researches and understanding of how consumer behavior changes, not only on Facebook platform, but globally. And the one thing that really unites the consumers nowadays is that they call them a microwave generation, which pretty much means that I want it here, I want it now, and I want it as soon as possible in the most convenient and relevant for them way. This puts a tremendous pressure on digital companies, actually pretty much on any company in the world, because this means that as a company that builds a service or provides service to a nowadays consumer or to a future consumer, you need to be extremely relevant and you need to understand extremely well what these users, your current users or your future users need and want. And if we look at the companies, if we look at the Fortune 500 companies, which is kind of a good proxy for understanding what is a successful company, we see that actually nowadays only 12% of the Future 500 companies remain. The first time Future 500 companies were put together was 1995. So in a little bit more than half a century, only 12% of them remained. And the average span of their lifetime is actually 15 years. So this is a valid demonstration of the companies that didn't make it in the digital era. And they didn't follow their consumer, they didn't understand their needs, they were not relevant, and they didn't provide the service that was actually needed at the time. With that, why am I talking about digital disruptors to you, and what does Georgia have to do with that, and your companies that you represent here in general, the ecosystem? Because I actually think that not only Georgia, but also Central Eastern Europe, and that's the region we're focusing on, and Georgia is part of this region, have the best chances to make it to digital disruptors and the best chances to change the industry and influence the industry with the tech products that you make. Why is that? It's because we actually have a pretty good track record of the companies that made it. There are only a couple of them on the slide, and I know most of them personally. And these are the companies that actually created something that changed the industry. If you know, Playerx, it's a gaming company, was recently, their capitalization was called at 2.8 billion American dollars. And that's the company from Vologda, which is a tiny city in Russia, and obviously you know Telegram, WhatsApp, and Viber. Masquerade was purchased by Facebook, acquired by Facebook in 2016. So there is a tremendous potential in the region with the tech resources and the talent that is here to make it. And us as Facebook are actually focusing on growing this regional tech expertise, growing the companies that have cross-border potential, and giving them the platform to develop and scale globally. Every year, for 2 years already, we're making what is called a Digital Disruptor Consumer Report. In this report, we, not only us, also the research companies with amazing credentials, we analyze how consumer preferences change within time. And we're trying to find in this report some insights that are universally applicable to any company that is serving digital consumer of nowadays. So I'm happy to let you know that we distilled the insights from the report into 5 clear messages to you, and with this presentation I'll go through these 5 messages, pretty much explaining what makes a good digital disruptive company. And the first one is many companies, also including disruptors, are lagging behind consumer habits. They traditionally lean a lot on direct response marketing. They don't build their brand, they build their company, which is not exactly right. And they are not able to kind of match the DR and brand efforts. And they're rarely on mobile also. So they would start on desktop or as a physical business, and they don't understand that disruptive consumers nowadays are most likely to be present across various devices. So here on the slide, there's a presentation of different consumers that use mobile first to most likely complete the purchase. If you look at the apparel or beauty segments, people, the disruptive consumers are 7 times more likely to research things first on mobile before they make the purchase. And it also applies to marketplaces and consumer tech, which is incredibly important, which means that if you're not present on mobile, then you're missing out on so many opportunities, and you're also missing out to be able to communicate your value to mobile customers. Another thing is, like I said, this combining DR and brand efforts. Everything is about performance, always. But then, you want to scale your companies, you want to measure KPIs correctly, but then also everything is about brand, and combining this sometimes is very hard. And I'm just showing a quick example of OpenTable and the ads that they were running on Instagram, how they're, in a very nice way, manage to tell what they're about, to bring this brand perspective of the service, but then also let the customer book the service straight away from the app. There are many more other examples of the companies that successfully made it. Just quickly stop on like Dollar Shave Club. They've started with very straightforward static creatives, telling like, listen, here is a razor that you can order every month. But they were not able to grasp the brand sentiment, and they've started using another type of ads, which is called collection ad, which help them not only reach their performance objectives, but also showcase their brand in a good way. And one of my favorite examples is Bombas. Those are socks that pretty much in this ad tell, if you lose one sock, which happens to all of us, I suppose, they just run away, we'll send you another one, just because we're cool guys. And what is the amazing way to tell people about this in a stories ad? Going forward, the second insight is embracing the changing nature of customers. Customers go from platform to platform. And if you're, as a brand or a company, only present on one platform, then you're, again, missing out on various opportunities. So we currently know that around 60% of people are learning about brands from Instagram. So let's say you don't have an Instagram presence, you don't have an Instagram first creative, you're missing on 60% of potential customers that might learn from you and then also buy from you. And here we do know from a retailer, Mint, that were promoting their app in Instagram, and just by opting in this placement, they were able to decrease their cost per install by 60%. For Messenger, we currently have 1.3 billion monthly active people on Messenger, and those people sent around 20 billion messages in between businesses, either automated or personalized every month. And the companies like Lego are actually able to grasp this opportunity by one of their campaigns when they asked people to, when they offered people to select the best Lego constructor, for them, brought them 3 times higher conversion rate, because they did it in a natural, native way, using the customers who are already using the platform. And obviously, marketplace, another very frequently over-missed platform that Facebook has, and currently represents 800 million people, and actually helps businesses not only sell their products naturally, but also target displacement and then acquire users from displacement. And I don't know if you know this company. They're actually pretty famous in delivery of cosmetics. By opting in displacement, they managed to significantly increase their ROAS and performance. The third insight that we got is about attribution. This is the topic that comes up really, really often. And most of our advertisers, again, including disruptors, there are still some things that they need to learn about. They undervalue Facebook attribution. What does it mean for them in numbers? So we see that that 37% of people are lost if we only look at cookies. So in cookieless world, and here, if you heard Vitaly's presentation, I think he put it really clearly that we cannot dwell on cookies anymore. So if we dwell only on them, we're missing 37% of conversions. We also know for a fact that Facebook organically and paid traffic drives more organic searches and also more paid searches. So if you don't take this into account, you're just underevaluating the platform. And the third one is actually shocking. It was shocking for me. Do you know how many people that purchase anything actually don't click on ads? Can you have a percentage? 5%, 10%, 30%? Anyone? 50? 30? 91% of people who purchase never click on ads. This means that if you don't use view through attribution, you would never, you never grasp it, you would never understand it. And this is actually crazy, especially for platforms like Facebook or for any display networks. This is amazing. So with that, signals are very important. And incremental value comes from understanding what exactly you do. So pixels, SDKs, you need to have it on your platforms, and you need to be able to analyze them and measure them. Otherwise, you're just really, really missing out. The fourth one is about the traits that company has that makes this company great. And we identify 5 common trends traits, tenets of greatness in the companies. So I think that we all agree that Alibaba, Spotify, Netflix, Amazon, to name very few, are digital disruptors. So that's the company that changed the way we consume various services. There are 5 things that unite all of them. First of all, they have unified goals and extreme focus. So this means that from the janitor in your company to the CEO and to the CTO and data analyst, you need to have unified goals, and you need to understand what actually you're doing, what are you focusing on. And then this should be universally accessible to everyone. The second one is data democratization. So this means that there aren't many separate departments that are working on their thing quietly and they never share any information with anyone. So it is proven that the free flow of data helps companies grow faster. The exchange of ideas, the share of ideas, the open communication and transparency, this is something that makes it easier to spot an error or to spot something that doesn't really work well. Then This might be a little bit tricky, especially in our countries, because we tend to be quite hierarchical, but I think for the startups or for tech companies, it's actually very much doable. It's a line-level employee and engineering improvement. This means that everybody can talk to everybody. So being a user acquisition manager, I can pop up in the CEO's room and I will say, like, listen, I think there is something that we're not doing right. Or how about we change this or that? So this is also one of the great traits that any company can share. Going forward, there are a couple of more. These companies that are mentioned and the companies that I work with, it's not that they enjoy failure, but they're fine with failure. And for them, it's better to fail now than to fail in a year or 6 months, because you can afford, sometimes you cannot just afford failure. So that being connoisseur of failure means that, okay, we learned something, we analyzed that and we moved on. And while we're moving on and while we're doing anything, we're doing it with speed. We're doing it quite fast, because speed is everything. And I talked in the beginning about this microwave generation. So it does mean that you need to do things quickly, and then you need to make decisions quickly. And I've heard, when I was talking to some companies, I've heard the thing like, oh, we focus on Georgia first, and then we might go to Europe or scale in Asia or in the US. It's actually, while you're focusing on Georgia, you're missing out on so many learnings and so many opportunities in other countries, especially if you're a tech business. So speed up and try to implement and change things faster. We have several examples of companies that made it. Let me focus on, well, for instance, on a couple of them. Rover, I think that's a good example, when they were actually quick on testing decisions. So this is a pet service business. And in the very beginning, they thought that the strategy that works for them is actually boosting posts and creating organic content and actually acquiring clicks. So they were acquiring lots of traffic, saying like, well, it's very hard to explain our service and to persuade people to get to the service and book a pet sitter or something like this. So we've worked with them to switch from clicks to different objectives that make more sense for their business, which is specifically booking a service for a pet. They ran a series of tests really quickly, and they actually came to the conclusion that they've been, all that time when they were boosting posts and acquiring traffic, they've been doing it actually quite wrong, because they were acquiring so many useless clicks that didn't do anything to their business. And HelloFresh made it really quickly when this is one of the food service deliveries. So in the US, it's an incredibly competitive market. Like here, I also see like 3-4 food delivery services. Food delivery services, especially in the US, tend to invest a lot in the beginning and then kind of stop it, so live in a silo. So they've grasped this opportunity when they saw that some of their competitors backed down, and that's where they enhanced their digital presence, and they actually boosted their activities much more, and they did it really quickly without thinking like, oh, should we do it now? Should we do it later? So that's how they made it to the success and to growth. And the fifth principle is actually what unites all of the successful companies on our platform, is being excellent in basics first, and then applying more sophisticated solutions. And there are, I'm glad to say, only 5 of them that you can mark for yourself. And these all come from the questions that you ask yourself, the questions that you ask your audience. So how do you deal with cookieless environment? Do you only dwell on Pixel and SDK, or you're using more signals from the platform to scale your business? Are you micro-segmenting and micromanaging stuff in your accounts, or you actually dwell on machine learning that works on all the signals that you feed in the system, and you run simple but effective marketing? Are you only on one platform? Are you only on Facebook feed? and this is it, and you think that that's where your customers are, or most probably you're wrong, because as we discussed, the customers are very fluid. They go from platform to platform. So ask yourself a question, like where your customers are coming from. Do you show the most relevant stuff to your customers? Do you, or you just have one creative that you run for 3 years and then you decide like, oh, maybe it doesn't work, so maybe I try to use something else? And also, how are you spending your money? Are you just, putting a bet on one campaign that's supposed to deliver all the results? Or you're letting the system to decide for you where is the best to invest, what's working best, and how you combine these efforts. So these 5 very simple solutions are the basics. And from the basics, and I know it's really, really small, so I'll try to share it somehow, and hopefully you'll get access to it. We call it the evolution of DR marketing. You claim it first, you prove what works, you sell it, and then you build on that, you scale that. And I just discussed the claim it part. So all the brilliant 5 basics that need to be there to make it great. And from there, you can actually scale it and growing forward. I think this was useful for you. And I think that you had kind of a couple of good ideas of what you can do next. And I met many brilliant, interesting tech companies here. So I really wish you luck. And I'm around here if you want to stop and say hi. Or bye, and discuss your businesses. Thank you very much for your attention. I hope you enjoyed.